Good morning. So it is the Saturday. That was just not an early day, but just was in the garden, and I came out here to the hives, and they're busy. At least one is. Look at that. And you can, like, they're so busy that they're literally dropping to the floor. And there's just, you see the pollen is coming in, and they are busy. It's crazy. Some nice, you can see the pollen on them too. I'll open this one up today, see if they have enough frames, and this might be the time where I just kind of give that final expansion. I'll just check if I had other frames kicking around that were like partially drawn. I might just add those in there, and they can just fill them up if they want. Tell you what, these are healthy, so it's good to see. Alrighty, so I got thinking about this whole, you know what's cool enough not to have a hat? I got to thinking about this whole charcoal piece, and I'm almost kind of on the fence. I'm saying that's maybe exactly what I made here, was charcoal. Now, I started looking more into pallets, you know, what can you use, what can you not use. And I've come to the conclusion, in my opinion, I think it's safe to use those pallets. They are domestic, they come from the States, they're not made for export, there's no stamps on them. So it's like, oh well, then you don't know what it is. Yeah, but if there's no stamps, it is domestic. And if it's domestic, you don't need to treat them. And the way these are put together, they're clearly not meant for bringing back. They're very quickly put. You can see, like, just the quality of them, and just having worked with them before, like I've used them for projects as oak slabs, and I've never had a problem with them. They've always looked good. There's no indication whatsoever that they're foul. So I'm going ahead with it. So I'm not sure if I'll use it as biochar, but I might see if it's actually charcoal. So what I did here is, I have my little mesh, and then I'm just scooping it in there to take off the water, because the biggest thing is the water. My drain is not well, it plugs up. It's a 3/4 fitting on there. That's actually, like, if I were to make this again, I probably would upgrade that to a 1-inch ball valve. So go from the 3/4, I would just put a 3/4 to 1 adapter on the front. Actually, it would probably be better to put it on the end of it. No, on the doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm just gonna get this kind of cleaned up. I'll probably put it into some 5-gallon buckets, and who knows, maybe I'll like dry it out for some, and see if I can work with it, or maybe it works good for charcoal. If it works good for here's my thing. I could use it as charcoal, but I could make another batch of biochar that is from a known source of wood, like local, like what I would actually cut myself. And if that has the same effect as this did, I'm good. If it looks better, then use this just for charcoal. That's my thinking. Alright, so I am just finished wrapping up the little, basically wrapped up the little biochar experiment. So, the barrel held up very nicely, so I just rinsed it out and let it dry, and then I guess we'll have to find a home for it. These cinder blocks, they come in handy. I had to store those away too somewhere. But yeah, this is the stuff that I deemed that was not completely burned, and that was the end result. So basically 5.5 6-gallon pails. So these are 6, not 5. I don't know, it's an interesting piece, but I like them. So yeah, everything's kind of cleaned up, squared away, and I tell you what, those bees are active, which is kind of why I moved away from this. Well, actually, this was not the initial reason why I moved away from the entrance disc, because honestly, I was gonna say with how much traffic they have, I really should just. I'm thinking about opening a second one, but I just don't want to give them that much. It's ridiculous how much traffic is there. You know what? Let's give them that. Use it. Hey? That's just beautiful. Just look at all that pollen that's coming in. So that's a big indication that there is a lot of eggs in there. There's a lot of young bees coming out. And not just that, but it's also the sheer volume is absolutely astounding. So the big problem with these discs is that well you see the limiting capacity there, and it was also where you could put the entrance. So for these ones, if I had the rope in there, I would just make it wider. And I think that is actually what Lazuten did during the summer. I think he opened the full thing. You can open them wide, and evidently they need it. So yeah, I will be certainly checking in on these today, and I'll see how far they are. I'm gonna guess they might need some extra frames. I have to go look around for some of the old ones I've kicking around, but they're looking really good. And this is the swarm I caught last year, and this is also, this hive is the odd one out. This was the first hive I built, and it is structured around 1.5 inch insulation, and they wintered just fine. Everything else is actually centered around 2-inch insulation, so it kind of gives pause to think about that. And I chose 2-inch because of its value, but it's also it's easy to find 2-inch insulation as well. So, and plus for our climates, I think it's just better to do so. There was a lot of, I don't know, I feel like we had a good winter last year, because we have an odd phenomenon that apparently a lot of people have, is potatoes from last year coming back up. I guess whatever was missing in the ground is coming back up this year. In all my time, I've never seen that. And I've talked to a lot of other people and say I've never seen that before. Potatoes coming back after the winter. So maybe we just had a really good insulation of the snow, and that's my guess. But oh man, these bees are just great to watch. Well, sometimes you have those moments where you just have a sudden rush of stuff to the brain, and things don't go right. Man, I done goofed. But yeah, I got one of the beehives here. So I had this one set up last week, and I did all the shingling on there. But the thing is, I put bee frames in there, empty ones. And I want to check. Okay, see if they're in there. Now I've had it all put up, but the one thing I forgot to do was screw the hinges on. And I came there and I just whoop, and the whole thing came off. And that honestly wouldn't be bad with any other hive except this one, because the front, it's basically unmarked, except it bent that one and that one. And then one in the middle, but this side got the worst of it. So yeah, they're not straight anymore. So not the idea, but you know what? I might either try to fix it. You're never gonna get the kink out though. 2, I'm not replacing it because I can't replace the shingles. I have to, if I were to replace the bottom shingles, I would have to literally replace every shingle in that vicinity. So from this one forwards, I would have to go all the way to the roof. And I'm not going to do that. So I might actually just bend them all down. I don't want to at least keep it uniform, then it looks intentional, you know? That's the thing. I'd sooner have it look off but intentional than clearly something was wrong. I probably won't leave it like this. I'll probably whack the other ones down too. Just peen it down nicely. And it's not a bad look either, where, you know, it's like, oh, it sheds rain, something like that, you know? This one I will kind of have to biff out, but we'll see. Alright, pay attention to what you're doing. I guess that's the lesson of the story. At some point I'd like to go see where the bees are going. I wonder what nectar source is out there. I'm going to guess it's it's either dogwood or dogbane, but there's a little bush grows around here. I don't see an example, but it grows about yay high. Yeah, of course you can see that measurement. But it's got a bunch of pink little flowers on there, and it smells wunderbar. But I see that they're all heading where there is a large known patch of it. So I'd like to know what because they're so active this morning that and because there has to be something out there that they're all gravitating to. So I'm just curious to know what they're at. Alright, so I ran some errands and quickly harvested some pineapple weed, is what I know it around here as. A bunch of this stuff. So yeah, make use of the mesh, and that's actually the idea with the other mesh there. You know, make a 3x3, and then you can stack them too if you wanted to. That's the idea. I'd like to make that at some point, more like almost like a closet. You can open it and you have all your little racks in there, but it's just air dried. I prefer just air drying these things. It's I feel it retains the flavor better. And the big reason I do that is I'm going to run the mower for a bit, so I adjusted it a bit more. So it runs, it cuts, evidently. But yeah, I pulled because I looked at the spark plugs, and they're a little bit on the white side. Because I can insert image, and then yeah, so to me that indicates it's too lean, it gets too much air. I fiddled with it a little bit, and we'll see. I made some changes. I'll run it again, and then I will pull one of the plugs again, the easiest one, and we'll, you know, see how that looks, because it needs to be more of like a brown, and like I said, so we'll do that, and then we can let it cool down. The car, that's why I ran uptown, needs an oil change, so yeah, I got the filter for that. I already had the oil, so typically the car I actually sent to a mechanic because he's just like, he's my neighbor, so you know, he does the oil change. It's quick, easy, and then he looks over the whole thing, and you know, he's a mechanic, he knows what he's looking for, he's an honest guy, and so, you know, if he sees something wrong with it, he lets me know right away, which is nice. The truck, on the other hand, that's kind of like my it's my workhorse. I don't use it often, so I do the maintenance on that one. And then so the reason why I harvested the weed, the pineapple weed, was for that I was just gonna mow that, so be part of my little. I'll mow a little area and whatnot, and then just run it for a bit, and then I guess let it cool down. Probably in that meantime, change the oil, and then check the plugs again. At some point, I would like to see where the bees are going, because knowing what your nectar sources are is, for me, it's important. Especially with what I want to do with my, I don't know, I do want to get into beekeeping. Well, I've been doing it for 6 years, but actually get a lot more serious into it. And so I've been beekeeping for 6 years, but I've only started really this year, I feel. And by that I mean, like, last year I transitioned over to a different style of beekeeping, something that I don't see nobody else doing around here. And with it comes different opportunities. And so understanding the honey that comes around here, because the way I will be processing honey allows me to get very specific honey. So it can be seasonal. I could, if I wanted to, I can adopt seasonal honey with the way these hives are set up. So if I know what my nectar sources are, what time of year they come in, I can give a rough estimate of to what kind of nectar is on what kind of frame, and indicatively that would say what kind of honey it is, which is kind of a neat aspect, because you could, like maple syrup, if you take it in batches and do it throughout the whole season, you line up, you know, I did this last year, it was 5 weekends of 5 boils, and you can line up those 5 jars. I think I'll toss up a picture. You can see the different grades of syrup, and it's just awesome. And you can do the same thing with honey, and it's just it's refining the craft. Anybody can go out and buy some bulk honey made from canola. But try find specific honey, artisanal honey if you want. I don't know. It's just taking advantage of what you can get out of the resources you have around. So, case in point, we got a lot of this. This stuff is nasty. It is really invasive, a leafy spurge, but it makes a nectar source that I was told makes a very bitter honey. So who knows, maybe it's a very unique palate that gets that one. But either way, I've rambled long enough. I'm going to run the mower for a bit and then see where the day goes from there. Alright, this is the swarm that was housed last week. Just going to quickly take a peek inside. Wow. I'm just looking at the outside frame. I see there's nothing there. They're about 3 frames in, so they certainly don't need an extra. They got plenty of room to expand. I'm going out to protect one of my plum trees. It's whatchamacallit. They're out here in the bush. They're grafts, ants, and the cows are going to be put in here at some point. But I'm just walking here and kind of seeing what's new. There's Saskatoons are actually getting ripe. I had a few of those now. And I'm also trying to figure out where the bees are going, because there's a lot of that dogbane around. I believe it's dogbane. But I see some bees, but not to the extent that I thought it would be. But on here I figured, I show some of these. These are, I'm not actually sure what they turn into, but there's a few of them around here. It's it's pretty neat. So they just it's always interesting to see what else you find. Alrighty, so I guess a few things have been done. A few things were actually discovered, as you say. It's amazing that every year, despite being around, I always find something new. So I guess those caterpillars were one. But another one was I was never aware of how many Saskatoons are around here. I got some. Well, I never would have known until last year, but where I have all my choke cherries, there's a lot of Saskatoons there too, and they were well pollinated, I'll say that. So we'll see how that goes. I had a few in the bush there, and yeah, I'm just looking here now by the raised beds. I know the strawberries, they need to be amended. They're making really small berries, and well, I guess they kind of just depleted the area. And yeah, it was actually a little discovery I made here. I found this exciting. Well, one, I actually have some malva already flowering. That's one. And two, I have datura coming up, or angel's trumpet. So I didn't see this here. This was self-seeded, so that's actually kind of exciting. This is the biggest one I found. So I kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And the mustard is coming up very nicely. I went on this side, like I got a bunch of that calendula. I think these are zinnias. But yeah, we go under here and there we go, more datura. So that's pretty neat. I was thinking of what I can do with this space here. I usually plant stuff here, and I like it for the garlic and onions, and that's good. But I don't know, the idea crossed me yesterday. I could use this to grow chicken food. I could, have a whole bed of like spinach, cabbage, or like even I don't know, some like dense greens. Just chop and toss over, and it's a lot of extra nutrients for them, and it's right here. So as much as I give them the weeds and everything, they it's nice to give them extra. But yeah, I got a little project going there, and mowed the lawn one little piece at a time. I'm dialing in that I've probably pulled that spark plug out 5 times today already, at least. I went from too lean to too rich, so I'm getting somewhere. Last time I pulled it, it looked pretty good. It was right in the middle. It wasn't golden brown, so I didn't adjust anything. I left it as it is. I put a little bit more mileage on there, and it's sitting there again. And if that plug looks good again, and I'll probably send a picture of that one to my brother. If that passes the test, then I feel confident with the mower. It still has its issues, but it's also running on. It's not running on pure fuel right now. It's got seafoam in there too to, clean things out. Supposedly, I feel like that's a controversial topic on its own right. Either way, I'm gonna probably flip the compost pile, that needs doing, and see where things go.